Today we are talking about the patch notes for patch 1.0.5 for Sea of Thieves. This patch, much like the last one, is not a major patch, more a patch for a lot of bug fixes and that kind of stuff. The major patch is what we'll expect in May with the Hungering Deep. That said, there will be a little bit of a content spoiler along with the changes in this. First, the updates. New message from Beyond. The ferryman was unhappy with a text that had been written describing how to scuttle a ship, so he made them write a better version and then walk the plank. Reload. Adjusted position of the ammo crates on both ships so they are easier to interact with. This is primarily to not have the issue of trying to reload your weapon or reload the ammo on your weapon and then accidentally going for the weapon selection. So those are a little bit further apart, which I think is a really good change. It was just a bit annoying beforehand. Play the next song. Players will no longer play the same shanty twice in a row. UI improvements. Images in the vanity and clothing chest now load gracefully when browsing. In addition, all UI screens now fade when opened. Fancy. Fixed issues. Resolved issues where skeleton fort or bounty quest skeletons fail to spawn correctly. We have been resolving these spawning issues across the last 2 updates. However, with this update, we have now resolved all known reported spawning issues. If you find any further problem islands, please log a support ticket noting the island and we will investigate further. This is good news, no more sailing away and back from islands, hopefully, with that all being fixed now. Players will no longer be stuck with a single weapon slot, and players' weapon choice will now also persist across sessions. Players who were experiencing the single weapon slot issue will now be resolved as soon as they load into the game. No more early visits to the ferryman required. I think especially the other part is nice too, not always reloading to the default weapon choice basically. Ships will no longer ping up into the sky when sinking, in loving memory of the sky ships. I think this is a little bit sad because it was actually a really funny glitch, but I can understand why it was fixed eventually. PC. Push to talk option will no longer reset to default, disabled between sessions. Also very good because it was pretty annoying that that would reset all the time. You can always trust the untrustworthy achievement can now be unlocked. Kraken is no longer able to spawn around rocks. Kraken Tentacle should always be visible when holding a player. Pocket Watch should no longer display as closed when being shown to another player. Skeletons and animals should no longer despawn when players climb in and out of the cannon. Rogue Sea Dog trousers and Royal Sovereign trousers should now unlock when the requirements are met. Lore item descriptions are now localized. Reduced popping of UI in quick menu. It is no longer possible to clip through the ship when jumping on the banana barrel. Wrong company icon is no longer incorrectly displayed for a split second if user is trying to get XP from 2 different companies. It is no longer possible to drop behind the bar and get stuck in the pirate hideout. Updates to incorrect NPC dialogue lines. Getting into a cannon and then getting back out should no longer skip the tutorial. Players outside the Inky Merc will now hear Kraken fight audio when it attacks other ships. Resolved issue where players could hear repeating audio sound effects. Resolved issue where gunpowder kegs could spawn outside of player reach. Performance improvements. Fixed a potential client deadlock when encountering a network error. Multiple server crash fixes. Further improvements and optimizations for all platforms are ongoing. Known issues. Some players cannot see the downloadable content in the game, with the advice how to fix that. Players may experience details of their pirate, such as hair, color or scars looking different from the initial selection. Also an explanation on how to fix that or how it will be fixed. Players may encounter a gray screen when launching the game. Some players have found that this following guide or the support article resolves the issue with links to that. And players are experiencing delayed achievements and commendations from in-game actions. We are working on a way for our customer support team to re-award these achievements and commendations back to players. And then, last but not least, there is Sea of Thieves. And that's the little bit of content that is, well, on the horizon. In this context, apologies from my side. In the last video, I mistakenly thought that the sails that we saw were black sails and not the Admiral sails. They were actually just the Admiral sails, which look a little bit different depending on the lighting and on the ship. So that was just dark blue, but we are actually now getting at least dark gray to blackish sails. Unless I'm seeing this wrong again, but I'm pretty sure this time I am not wrong about that. So sorry about that, I was originally wrong about this, but somehow in a funny twist of events it kind of turned out that I'm not actually wrong and there are black sails to some degree coming to the game. There's a rumor that a new shipment of clothing, items, weapons and ship customizations are on the horizon and heading for the Sea of Thieves. If you are saving your coin for a pair of trousers, you might want to keep a weathered eye out for this arriving soon, with a picture of various new things that we might be able to see in the game. Not exactly the most piratey look, but pretty cool nonetheless. And that's it for the last patch of April. The next patch will be in May, and if the timeline stays right, then there's a good chance that that patch will be the next content patch. More info on that in the video up above. And let's just hope that it's actually the first patch in May where we see that happen, though it could obviously also be in the later stages of May. There was no exact date mentioned. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was interesting and insightful. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the sub button with the bell, it really helps me out. Other than that, see you for the next one, maybe later or tomorrow, depending on if I get the second video done today. DukeSloth, out. What shall we do when we have no outro? What shall we do when we have no outro? What shall we do when we have no outro early in the morning? Now we have our black sails, now we have our black sails, now we have our black sails in Sea of Thieves.